I'm about to introduce Chris Inglis, but I don't know that he needs much introduction to this room. And 4 moves just like this. But I do want to say a couple things. I worked in a building. I know some folks in this room worked in that same building where you walk past the photo every day of the guy up on the wall. After that, I had the opportunity to actually work with him at the Cyberspace Solarium. So this is meaningful to me. He's a true leader. He's been, I believe, the embodiment of this award. And with that, I'm gonna give a little bit of an intro, Chris. But for ICIT's Pioneer Award, it's our organization's highest award. It's presented to a globally recognized individuals whose leadership and lifetime commitment to public service has fortified critical infrastructures and transformed national security. This year's recipient is the Honorable Chris Inglis. Chris is a living legend in the cybersecurity and national security communities. He's given more than 4 decades of service to our nation. Some of the highlights include graduating from the Air Force Academy, becoming a C-130 pilot, having multiple commands, ultimately retiring as a brigadier general, serving as the deputy of the NSA, a commissioner on the U.S. Cyberspace Solarium Commission, and most recently, as our nation's first national cyber director. Sir Isaac Newton once said in a quote that I know some of you in this room often use, that if I have seen further, it's by standing on the shoulders of giants. Chris is a giant upon whose shoulders many of us have stood and now stand. Chris is the type of leader who, in a hyper-partisan world in which we live, gains the unanimous consent of the U.S. Senate to serve as our nation's first national cyber director under President Joe Biden, after being put on the U.S. Cyberspace Solarium Commission by then Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. Chris is the go-to pick for leadership in cyberspace for our nation. To be a pioneer is to embrace the unknown, see possibilities where others see obstacles, to take bold steps where others have not, and to light the way for future generations. The Honorable Chris Inglis embodies these concepts. To present Chris with this year's award, we're privileged to welcome back our 2023 Pioneer Award recipient, Venus Goodwine.
Wow, that light is bright. So I'm going to take off my glasses to see. Don't laugh. When you get my age, you'll do that too. So first, I want to say congratulations to ICIT, to Parham and Corey. Thank you, and congratulations on the decade of excellence. Because I tell you that public-private partnerships are foundational for our nation to be successful. And what you have done, you've brought together like-minded individuals to work on a particular problem, regardless of partisanship. And that, to me, is unique. And so you have been a great catalyst for all of us to solve hard problems and do that in a unified way and provide solutions. So I want to tell you thank you for that, and then challenge you to keep asking the hard questions. Keep having the hard conversation. Keep challenging us to think outside the box to address the issues. The synergy that you bring in this community will help us stay aligned for our same goal, and that is to make sure that we can defeat and protect our nation against those that want to do us harm. So congratulations for your 10 years, and thank you for that. And then go ahead, yes. But also, to your spouses, that 10 years is an anniversary for silver, so you're going to have a blue box on your pillow when you get home. So, no, I will tell you, they asked, what have I been doing since I won the last award last year? And I will tell you, I've been pioneering like you told me to. First, delivering the first accredited Department of Defense AI solution, NIPR GPT. Chris, it is secure, by the way. I'm doing it in a secure environment. I make sure of that, so good. We're excited about that. But I will tell you, I didn't take lightly what you asked me to do when you gave me that award. So I've been working hard for the Air and the Space Force to deliver capabilities to the warfighter. When your terrain is, 500 feet above surface and then everywhere above that, I have to make sure that I deliver capabilities to the warfighter that is resilient, that is secure, that they can use. And so I've been hard doing that, but I cannot do that without partnerships, and that's with all the industry in this room. So I want to tell you thank you for partnering with me because, again, public-private partnership is very important. But you also challenged me to make sure that I pay it forward. So I continue to be an adjunct faculty member, making sure that I can help build the workforce of the future. But I also spent yesterday with Google and Purdue University students talking about the AI imperative. So I am doing the things that you asked me to do, so thank you for that honor. But today is not about me. It is about the Honorable Chris Inglis. And so let me tell you my story. Amir is not as cool as yours, but I was at an event at one of the embassies and you were the speaker. And I went, wow. But I had watched you before that. And I said, I really want to meet him. I really want to talk to him. So I waited in line so that I could come and see and talk to you, but then they whisked you off and I didn't get a chance. So look at here. Imagine that. Full circle moment, right? I tell you. But there you go. So listen. But are you ready? Because I got to tell you, this pioneer thing, it's an elite club that you're about to join because we're going to ask you to do some pioneering kind of things like you have to slay all the malicious actors that are trying to attack our networks. Then you need to eliminate all misinformation and disinformation that's on the internet. Yeah. Then I need you to secure all the critical infrastructure. Yeah, read up. You signed up for this. But then I need you to solve world hunger with AI. So, you ready? Do you feel the weight on your shoulder? Because that's kind of what I felt like when I was here this time last year. But Jen and I are here to help you. All that list that Ann said, we're all here to help you do all those slaying that you need to do. So, but seriously, if you take the name Chris Inglis and put it in any of your browsers or in your large language models, you could go get a cup of coffee and come back and it'll still be running because that is his accomplishments. But it's not about the quantity, it's about the quality and what you have given to the nation and all the things that you have done to make us better as a nation because of it. And tonight, we just want to tell you thank you for that. And I'm going to just have a fan moment with you. But also, just from the skies to cyberspace, we want to say thank you because you have truly paved the way as a pioneer, not only for our nation, but global cybersecurity. So please, if you would stand as I ask the Honorable Chris Inglis to please come on stage. Oh, wow. Ooh, right.
Many of you will be surprised I am speechless. Corey tells me that this is detachable and you can mount it on the hood of a car. Makes me very, very sad that I continue to drive a 1997 green Ford Taurus. I'll try to be as brief as I am grateful, which is in both cases very. I'm enormously privileged to stand alongside Amir, David, and what an extraordinary group, representing an even more extraordinary group, which is in the room here. I'll start my gratefulness by first thanking ICIT. Your 10th anniversary is the 10th anniversary of my 28th anniversary with Anna. And the two of us, as we've gone through life, have been privileged to enjoy one moment after another in the company of people just like you. I am unworthy of this honor, but I have been privileged to serve on teams that are. And that ultimately has been my claim to fame, is that I just happen to be serving alongside the extraordinary people that are represented in this room. ICIT takes on issues that are out of sight, out of mind, but ever present, the foundations of our society upon which health, life, safety depend. If I were to be asked, which I often am, what keeps you awake at night, I wish I could say what Jim Mattis once said, which is nothing, I keep other people awake. But what keeps me awake is not so much the Chinese, the Russians, and any number of other kind of active threats, but the proactive ambivalence that is so often present amongst those who depend on things like critical infrastructure. Knowing that something is not right, knowing that there is fragility in the room, and assuming that someone is going to take care of it. Someone else is going to do something about that. ICIT makes sure that that thing that is out of sight, that is out of mind, that is ever present, actually gets the time and attention that is required so that we can guarantee that the aspirations of people who depend on digital infrastructure can be exercised once again in a free and open society dependent upon the free and open architectures that we all rely on. So thank you, Param and Corey and all of the ICI team for mobilizing us such that we can all make contributions to that, and we all must make contributions to that, because if we don't make it such that the threats in this space have to beat all of us to beat one of us, we'll wind up one day not having the free and open society that we cherish so very much. In terms of my own experience, I can still remember with great clarity about 20 years ago when a fellow by the name of Mike Hayden, who was the director of NSA at the time, came to me and said, I'd like you to go to London and be something called the Special U.S. Liaison London. That's the NSA senior in London. For those of you that ever followed the Bletchley Park project, that never stopped. We're not focused on Germany anymore, kind of Edward Snowden notwithstanding. But that project has gone on and on and on, and the job at that time was to go to England and lead the American contingent that worked alongside our British counterparts, and by extension, our Five Eyes counterparts. And he said to me at that moment, as I was taking that in, he goes, you know what this job is about? I said, I think so, but I want the job, so I'm open for your advice and counsel. He goes, it's about creating a sense of indebtedness, which I thought was the most craven thing that you could possibly say about our British friends. But I wanted the job, so I took it. And I went over and I tried to take something that was good and make it great. 3 years later, came back. First person I had to meet on my way to a job at NSA as the deputy director was Mike Hayden, who was at that time now the principal deputy director of the National Intelligence Establishment. And having seen me walk across his threshold at that moment, he goes, oh, you're back. And I said, I am. He goes, do you now feel indebted? I said, oh, oh. He said, what did you mean? No, I understood, yes. I do now feel indebted. I'm now ready to go to work. I felt that way through those 3 years. I felt that way ever since, indebted. To have the opportunity to work on the kind of problems that are worked by the people in this room. Indebted to serve alongside the kind of talent that's in this room. Indebted to work alongside those who want to make a difference in the world. Because the purpose of power under our Constitution and under like-minded nations kind of frameworks is not to dominate, is not to actually impose consequences or penalty or achieve a degree of retribution. The purpose of power in our system is to use that power for the benefit of those who gave it to you, to give that power back in the form of severance. It has been my privilege across It has been my privilege across my time in the government, kind of something that's often called public service, to serve alongside many public servants, some of whom work in the private sector, some of whom work in what's called the public sector, all of whom use power to essentially give back to the society that gave them their opportunities, gave them their chances, gave them their kind of opportunity to make a difference, gave them traction. And we therefore need to think about power not as a vertical, but as a horizontal. I was privileged to serve in something called the Office of the National Cyber Director, having helped throw that pass from the Solarium Commission using a sports metaphor. I didn't realize I'd be the only person on the field to catch it. But when we established the Office of National Cyber Director, we followed the example of so many in this room, which is to not establish another vertical, to compete for oxygen in a place where there was already too many people essentially trying to wrest the microphone and to give direction or to perhaps kind of operate from a top-down modality, but rather to create the fabric within which the pieces could make more sense, within which the gems, the baubles, the extraordinary expertise that lives in a distributed fashion across the ecosystem, not least of which in the private sector, where they could actually have greater traction, they could make a greater difference. to think about cyber as being wider than it is tall, to think about this as being the sum of all the parts as opposed to the direction of all the parts. That's a profoundly different way, I think, to approach the problem, and I think it can work. It will work. We have no further to look than the Ukrainians to see that you can take minimally invested architectures and actually defend them. They've taken a physical infrastructure you would never want to go to war with. It's a dog's breakfast of sorts. It's yesterday's kind of eggs, today's bagel, a down payment on tomorrow's yogurt. And I don't mean by that to damn it by faint praise, but it's not what you'd want to go to war with. And they've married that with world-class expertise and a coalition where they've challenged the Russians to beat the coalition, to beat all of us, to beat one of us, and made it such that they can achieve their aspirations by, with, and through digital infrastructure to achieve their societal ambitions. I had a discussion with the digital minister, by a fellow by the name of Fedorov from the Ukrainian kind of government about a year ago, so it's somewhat dated, but I'm sure still current, where he rolled me through what they'd done to actually defend themselves, to be in harm's way with minimal investments, but extraordinary commitment to expertise and coalition building to achieve that level of defense. And when I then replayed that back to him saying, I think that you've done these three things, he says, yes, but the fourth thing is the more important thing. I said, what's the fourth thing? Remembering what it's for. Remembering that the purpose of digital infrastructure is not simply to stand back and defend it, but to do something. What are your aspirations by, with, and through cyberspace? I was stunned that in the middle of a war, he was thinking in those very proactive terms. I said, such as? He said, well, it's Digital Driver's License Month in the Ukraine. We're going to deploy a digital driver's license across the Ukrainian architecture this month in the middle of a war. I didn't tell him that the United States couldn't do that in times of peace and tranquility. But he said, if you don't remember that fourth thing, what it's for, if you don't remember that it's less about the technology and it's more about the aspirations about what you're going to do with that technology, then you're actually going to be less productive, less proactive than you need to be. And so if I could challenge all of us, as Venice has challenged me to do something in the coming year, it's to wrest off this kind of mask of proactive ambivalence we find in so many places where folks know something is wrong and worry about who it is that's going to step up to the mic and do something about that. It's us. It's each and every one of us. And so let's make cyber something that actually is a place where we can all contribute to achieve something that none of us can do alone with any amount of resources. We all can make those contributions so that we can actually live the lives we want in this free and open society, dependent upon free and open architecture. And let's be as positive and proactive as Corey and Parham have been about what that future looks like. Because I'm not concerned about the Chinese, the Russians, or ransomware actors. I'm concerned about us. I'm concerned about whether we're going to mobilize the talent in this room and get those things done. Let me just close by saying how grateful I am to be in the company of you and the company of this year's award winners, and certainly in the long line of the previous award winners. As I leave the podium, I'll kind of go away recharged with the sense that there's something more that I should be doing. I teach at the U.S. Air Force Academy and the U.S. Naval Academy. As you know, it takes an Air Force officer to raise a naval officer. Actually, it's true. One of our kids graduated from the Naval Academy. It's just a fact. I love the digression up front in this discussion where we began with the banter between the Army and the Navy. The Air Force loves that, standing above the fray, that they're distracted. That they're distracted with each other. What we call the Army-Navy game is the consolation bowl. But having said that, maybe I'll end on that as a feature, not perhaps kind of a reason to criticize the talk that I'm giving. Let's actually think about what that actually represents. There's a lot of banter and sometimes some real competition, particularly at budget time, between those diverse, deep and sharp kind of organizations. But any one of them brings an expertise to the table that no other can bring to that table. They understand that in the recruit, train, and equip phase of their lives, they have to actually deliver something that makes a difference, whether it's on a battlefield or whether it's kind of delivering peace and tranquility to our society. They understand, however, having developed that deep and sharp capability, that it only makes a difference on a joint battlefield. It only makes a difference if you deliver that in a way that it complements the talent to the left of you, to the right of you. They all know that they cannot win the fight themselves. They all know that this is really about the combined efforts. That's an example that I think we can all take advantage of. How do we combine these talents? How do we apply these talents in a concurrent fashion such that they complement one another? make them beat all of us to beat one of us. And as Kimba would say, Kimba Walden, one of my kind of greatest heroes, let's make it such that we think very positively about the aspirations we have by, with, in cyberspace, and let's all make that contribution to it. I close by simply saying thank you. I know that half of us in the room have ensembles. We need to get back to the renters by midnight tonight. So I'll leave you be. Let's go and enjoy one another's company at the cocktail session to follow. Thank you very much.